Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lolz Live. This is the show that happens every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's a show that goes head-to-head with KTOV live streams, a show that will fearlessly press onward, even in the face of competition. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Brick75. How we doing, Brian?
Fantastic, as always. Loving life. How about you?
You know what? I'm doing good. I was down by the beach this past weekend, so I felt like I got to kind of recharge my batteries. You know, I was vibrating on a higher frequency than I usually am, and I'm ready to attack another week in the content mines. How about you?
Yeah, no beach for me. It's still illegal here, and but I did golf twice this week. So,
how's the golf game? Is it rounding into form here?
I shot an 88 today. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for me. I'm not very good. I haven't been playing that long. But I feel like I'm way better.
Yeah, I mean, you can. That's golf.
Yeah.
Do you play the same course generally?
Usually, yeah. Generally.
Yeah. I played a few times like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then I haven't been back. I just I haven't squeezed it in, and I think I just am putting it off too. That I'm just going to be so miserable. But I need to at least just head over to the driving range and just get some reps in. Yeah,
I would. I think the one by me is still closed. I'm not even sure.
Yeah. One housekeeping thing I want to say just before I forget, in case I forget at the end, is we are going to do another one of our MMA live stream companion shows. We did it a few weeks ago. It was super fun. We're running it back on Saturday. I think we're going to kick things off at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have the debut of Fight Island. We have a Millie Maker going on. We have a few guests already confirmed, including one Mr. Alex Osmo Baker, who I see in the chat, and a few other people that we should have be joining us. Bobby Gomes, who was with us last time. And I think we've coaxed Draft Cheat out of his mom's basement away from his keyboard. He might be joining us. Aaron Watershow, who's now doing some MMA stuff, is going to be swinging by. So yeah, Brian, I'm excited to drink some beers and watch MMA again on Saturday.
Oh yeah, that's always fun, and get some reaction shots out of us, like out of sync, since none of us are on the same exact stream. So.
Yeah. That's the best is when Alex pays for the MMA stream and we bootleg it and we have a feed that's ahead of his. That's really when we're winning. Let's check in on the chat. We got Carlos Soto. What's up? Did you drink your apple cider vinegar? So you joke about that, Sean. I'm not on a Randone level, but I am an apple cider vinaigrette truther. It's my regular salads. I do a combination dressing of apple cider vinaigrette with olive oil. That's a go-to for me. So, Brian, I mean, what do you think? Are you mixing in any apple cider vinaigrette over there?
I told him I drink it by the gallon, but I have probably 6 or 7 years ago. I actually did drink some apple, for a month. I tried a little bit. So I guess I can't really be a hypocrite here and call him out. I did try for a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not chugging it by the bottle. I mean, we're talking about like a little
in water, and then you drink it with like a straw so it doesn't get all over your teeth.
But there you go. You want to know the secret to my success? Like Randone, it's apple cider vinaigrette. How was your PGA week last week? Because I took a bath again.
Yeah, DK, I took a bath. FanDuel, not very good. Yahoo, I think I won their tournament. I did pretty good on Yahoo. And Super Draft, I think I broke even. And Fantasy Draft, I broke even. Super Draft, I took like half the money.
Can we just pause about the part where you think you won Yahoo's big tournament? That's how inconsequential it was for you.
I didn't look.
You didn't look if you won.
Super Draft, I looked because I had like first, second, third, fifth, 7th, 9th, and 11th, and
See, I actually, because it was last MMA slate, was having trouble getting on Super Draft. You hooked me up with a contact. They got my deposit and account info squared away, and I actually have money on there now. So I need to get in the Super Draft streets. For people who aren't familiar with Super Draft, and not that this show is affiliated, but can you tell me perhaps what the Super Draft setup is like, maybe in comparison to some of the other sites?
It's got a multiplier instead of a salary. So like the worse the golfer, let's just say golf, the higher his multiplier. So I had Chris Kirk last week, was like one of the highest point scorers on there. He was 1.65 times his fantasy points. So it wasn't like a $6,000 salary. It's like whatever fantasy points he gets times his multiplier. So like the studs are generally just flat 1. They don't get any bonus, like 1.05. I think my lowest stud was Victor. Why can't I think of his name? Hovland. And I think he was like 1.2. It might even been lower than that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. There's like always a shot of overlay. I feel like we're doing a promotion for that.
I know. I did too. I did. I'm just honestly curious because I haven't played there at all. I know you mentioned so you're like, you should get on there.
Here, since we're not affiliated with them, I will badmouth them on one thing. They don't have PayPal withdrawal. So get that fixed, Rick. If you're
there, you go. So how do you withdraw?
Bank wire.
Okay. All right.
I haven't looked in a month or two, so hopefully I'm not talking out of school here. I can't really speak to that, Peter.
Brian, that's the slogan for this show, is talking out of school. I mean, it's what we do.
That's a good point.
Yep. So on tap for today, we are going to talk a little PGA. Brian has some correlations talk. He's going to walk us through. Have you thought of what you want to call? I've been kind of inadvertently calling it Brick's Corner. I don't know why that comes to mind. Do you have a name for this segment? Where you go all professor? My Spanish was relapsing there, professor on us.
No, I do not. Okay. Are we going to be that professional? Like we're going to nail this
I want to
segment.
Well, do you know why it's not professional? Is because we're workshopping it live on air.
We could start to do like ESPN personal stories, right? Like Alex Baker grew up with a hard life.
Well, we already broke the Alex Baker as a robot story, so I don't know how much left there is to mine.
Yeah, that's good. That was a bad example. You're right.
Yeah. So in Brick's Corner, if someone has a better name, let us know. We're open to suggestions. He's going to talk a little bit about correlations. And then, as usual, our world-famous segment where we build a Millie Maker lineup that just fabulously bombs will continue. We were actually we thought we might have had a good one early on last week.
Yeah. We started off pretty nice. Who the Gooch? The Gooch was not loose.
Gooch withdrew.
He withdrew. Yeah, that was pretty brutal. Can't get much worse than that. I had Wyndham Clark, and he withdrew like even before Gooch too. I had like 15% of him, so that was pretty brutal. And then we had Chase Seifert, who had a really nice first day, and he sucked the second day. Didn't make the cut. That wasn't good. Did we have anyone good in there?
I'm sure we had like one good one. I can't even remember. I looked at one of my lineups. I don't know. I was just thumbing through them, and it had 2 withdrawals and 3 missed cuts. It was just a red out. Like I was like, this is gross. It felt like car.
Yeah, that's like what, like a 2% chance of that happening.
Yeah.
If you look at Steve Buzzard's tweets where he recaps all the the 1 of 6, 2 of 6, 3 of 6, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to do that, to actually to be that bad.
We got Matt in the chat suggesting Brick House. I kind of like that. Step inside Brick's house. School is in session. We have our Eli reasons. What is the correlation coefficient between rostering both Brooks, Praiseby, and Chase Koepka together in one lineup? I mean, you were the one that cracked the code on the Busch brothers having a high correlation in NASCAR. Do the Koepka brothers perhaps have something similar?
I mean, I seriously doubt it. Chase is always like 6,000 priced and no one ever takes him. I mean, that's not a serious question, but to answer it seriously, I seriously doubt it. And there'd be like a sample size of like 3. I don't know how many tournaments they play together, but it's not many.
But just, I mean, narratively though, it checks out. I mean, it's just like, oh, Chase made it up to the big leagues. You know, he's coaching him up, giving him pointers. I mean, it has to be strong.
You know what? I'd like to see the correlation of steroid use between the Koepka brothers. See if there's anything going on there.
Yeah, so we had the good tweet. I had to actually message Brian because I saw the tweet and everyone was losing their mind. And I was like, I'm not as plugged into the golf world as I need to be because I do not get this reference.
Yeah, I thought it was, so Brooks put a Kenny Powers tweet out there where Kenny Powers throws down a camera of a cameraman, and yeah, you could see it. Kenny Powers, what's he say? Confronts steroid allegations. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I just noticed Eli Reason's here showing up as my top comment. You know you're a DJ when you automatically think of Big T when you see Kenny Powers.
I think I saw that comment earlier, actually. Yeah. So it was about Bryson. He's trolling Bryson, saying he's insinuating that his 30-pound of muscle or whatever increases due to illegal substances.
So last week that was a brutal week to be a contrarian DFS player because the chalk between Bryson and then Doc Redman, didn't he do really well? And he was super popular. It was a nice week for the chalk, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it was decent. It can get way higher at the 6 of 6s. I've seen them 20-30% of the whole field making 6 of 6s. But yeah, because there was some misses too. Scotty Scheffler,
yeah,
high owned. But yeah, we picked the wrong big guy. We had Webb, if I remember correctly, and then Bryson did stud it up. You know, one thing I want him to do well for a few reasons, but he is kind of annoying. The slow play is kind of annoying. But you don't watch a ton of golf, but the announcers, especially Brandon Chambly, he's one of the golf announcers. The golf product is so brutal. It's so boomer. They don't even play, or at least they used to not play the Thursday and Wednesday rounds, and they wouldn't highlight the right groups and show. There was a hole of one the other 2 weeks ago, Abraham Manser. They didn't even have footage of it. It's so brutal. And then their color guys are always horrible. And this guy I mentioned, he always talks when anyone gets bulked up, he always bitches about, it's going to throw their swing off. It's going to throw their swing off. When Rory would be a slightly big,
yeah,
he's losing because he worked out too much.
Yeah.
He constantly saying, and now Bryson comes in here like a gorilla, dropping 350-yard bombs constantly and wins his 6th tournament. So I want him to win just to shut that guy up, but he'll never shut up, so it doesn't really matter. But
yeah, it's such a boomer take too. I don't like this guy that is a physical specimen, that's kind of bending the rules of the game as we know it. It reminded me, my grandpa used to say to me when I was 6 or 7, and he'd be like, "It's too easy for these guys to dunk in the NBA. The hoop should be 11 feet tall." That was his take. He always gave it Grandpa, why can't we just enjoy them dunking? It's we should make the courses, the par 5, 700 yards so Bryson can't drive the green in 2.
I've heard that. Yeah. One good thing about these legacy ESPN, I'm the NFL broadcasters I can't watch. I watch Red Zone. I think it's kind of getting to this point where I started liking Harry Carey and Hawk Harrelson, the legendary baseball broadcasters here in Chicago. I used to hate them when I was growing up, when I was a kid, because they were such obvious homers, especially Hawk Harrelson and stuff. But later on, they got insane. They got senile, especially Harry, and then Hawk towards the end was pretty bad too. He started swearing on air and stuff. It was great. So the more senile they got, I'm I'll just tune in and watch these old guys. Harry would talk about the breasts of women in the audience and stuff. It was a shit show. And I have a feeling especially ESPN, I haven't watched ESPN SportsCenter in 15 years. pure garbage. I hate all that shit. I could barely watch the drafts too. Like their stupid like personal stories they have on all these guys, fucking annoying. But I think it might be turning the corner to absurdity, like so bad. Like you might be able to enjoy how shitty they are because they're not changing anything. Like they're still the legacy bullshit that everyone makes fun of. No one wants this product they're giving out. Like you might be able to take some enjoyment and come back just to see how shitty they are.
Right. Well, it's the thing. It's like the really old people, they have no filter because they just do not care. They know that they can say whatever they want. What are you going to do to them? They're 90 years old. They just say whatever they want. That's what we need in the booth. They're just these old people that are just willing to say whatever they want. Well, that could get dicey fast. But yeah, that's
bring in somebody creative.
Yeah.
Change it up a little bit. Come up with some new options. We don't need Joe Buck and personal stories for the next 30 years.
Hear me out, though. What if it's Booger, but he's in some kind of futuristic spacecraft that moves along the sidelines? Isn't that switching it up enough for you, Brian?
I'll take that. I'll take that over the status quo, unless they become a parody that you could just laugh at and enjoy, you know?
Yep. That's why we're doing the MMA companion show. What a plug right there, because we'd rather listen to each other bullshit, argue about if Chase Hooper could beat what was it, Rebus in a fight. I mean, that's the real discourse that people want to hear while they're watching sports.
I'm reading some of these comments. Sorry.
Yeah, I do want to circle back to a comment that Fantasy Sharpie made, which was a really good joke. I copied your Millie Maker lineup, just made 6 pivots. That's the way to do it.
On your Periscope, we got called wind machines, or they're talking, or I don't know the reference.
Yeah. Eli says, what about pairing everyone that has already tested positive for COVID, lowers the chances of them withdrawing, all pretty cheap, allows you to pay up for the studs like Koepka. Wow. He's really pushing these. Is this going to be part of Brick's Corner, the COVID correlation theory?
I didn't think about that. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe those antibodies are, give you a little more accuracy.
There you go. Well, speaking of, we got a few suggestions. Someone replied to us on Twitter. They said Brick's Picks. We got Brick House. I think I'm going to roll with Brick House. So ladies and gentlemen, Brian, I don't know if you want to get your screen share ready, but I think it's time for the hit segment, Brick's House.
Yeah, let me.
Well, this is, in future shows, we'll have acquired the licensing rights to the song Brick House, and we'll be playing it as an intro to this segment here.
All right. All right, that's showing. So is Jake in the chat this week? I'm going to try to answer his question from last week a little bit, and I don't think he's even here. He doesn't show.
Jake, you raise your hand in class, you finally get called upon, and now you play hooky. Come on, you can't do that. I guess he's just gonna have to watch it back on demand.
No, I'm gonna delete it now after this. But yeah, he was. I think he asked about like figuring out correlations, like in between lineups. I was gonna pester him here in the live chat to get more of more details out of him, but it got me thinking about.
Sorry, breaking news. Jake Hari is in the YouTube chat. He has announced himself. He heard his ears were burning and he ran to the chat box.
There you go, Jake. Yeah, Jake, remember you were talking about you had a question about like correlations, I think between lineups, if you want to like throw something in chat there. But anyways, so I asked Fantasy Cruncher years ago to put in a like group setting into their PGA optimizer on this. So like on the left side of Fantasy Cruncher, it shows like your exposure settings. And I want them to put in like different groups based on salary next to that. So in all the other sports, there's positions. And in golf, and in NASCAR, and this would work for NASCAR and MMA as well, there is no positions. But you could kind of think of positions based in like salary groupings, right? Like there can be some overlap, like a Venn diagram, of course, here, but like you could think of like high price players in one group, semi-high, middle, low, and then really cheap. something like that. And it might break up each week. It might be different each week, exactly how you do it. Okay. Yeah. That inner line of correlation between 150 lines. Exactly. Okay. Perfect. So with that grouping in mind here, you could see in my sheet here, I put, this is the last whatever millimakers, post or whatever post COVID time, whatever, the last 5 millimakers. So it's not a huge sample size, but it gets the idea across anyways. And then I grouped all of them together based on these requirements. So like over 8,900, so like 9,000 and above, 7,800 to 9,000, 7,300 to 70, blah, blah, blah. You could see it right here that I have highlighted. And that's not like an exact science. We're just trying to get the enough players in each group to find a correlation. Because in Excel, which I'm going to show you here, you have to have the same amount of entries in each column that you're going to put a correlation into. So some people might not know how to use this in Excel. It's actually just equals correl is the function you use in Excel if you want to mess around with any of this stuff at home. And so a correlation is just like how much one variable compares to another. So it doesn't necessarily mean predictive, but it can be. So like how many air conditioners are on in hot weather, something like that. And so like the higher the weather, the more air conditioners can go on. Something like that would be a correlation. And all you do is you compare the one column to the other. So we'll do ownership to salary, just for fun. And you can see that there's a pretty high correlation. 1 is the highest. This is 0.83. 1 would be a perfect correlation. And then let's try ownership to the groups. And I think this will be a negative correlation. It is. It's a high negative correlation. And I labeled the groups 1 to 5. It could be, if I flip that 5 to 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, this would become a positive correlation. And the average salary here for all these millimakers is $7,085. That's irrelevant, though. It doesn't really matter. So, okay, back to Jake's question here. How to reduce inner lineup correlation between your 150 lineups. That's really tough. And that's pretty high level DFSing there, which is why Jake is, the number 1 NHL DFS player of all time. Undisputed. But here's what I came up with. So I put all these last millimakers into these groups and then put them side by side so you could use a correlation. And I compared group 1 to 2, group 1 to 3, 4, and 5. And I just did the top ones. And you could go on here further down, but there's not going to be as much need because most of the ownership is in these, group 1 and 2. If you look every week, it's the high price guys that people are owning. So what does this, and this is not definitive, but it's, something to think about. What has happened here in the last 5 milli weeks? So groups 1 and 2 have a 6% correlation. Groups 1 and 3 have a 27% correlation. Groups 1 and 4 have an 11% correlation. And then group 1 and the dirt cheap guys is actually negative correlated, which was probably surprised people. If I move this group 1 salary higher, this probably would go up. But what it's saying is that this group 3 here is very highly correlated with group 1, so the higher players. And that's only a $500 gap I put in there. So 7,300 to 7,700. Just that little, sliver of salary groupings has a pretty high correlation to the top guys who are going to be the high owned guys. And then if you look here at group 2, the highest correlation besides to the cheap guys is also to group 3. And that makes a little bit of sense too, where, in this 8,000 range, you're kind of like, it's kind of like, what's the opposite of stud and scrubs? Whatever that would be, just
middle of the road or
Yeah, middle of the road, a safe lineup. Who knows? Whatever you want to say. They correlate way more with the cheap guys. And I'm not entirely sure why. I would guess if I up this group 1 to like the 90, let's say 9,600 and above, maybe 9,900 and above, that would probably explain it, because you wouldn't have any salary left over. So you'd be forced to go into group 5. And group 5 is 6,000 to 6,500. So those are like the real cheap golfers. And there's a ton more golfers in these group 5 and 4 range, which is why I had to lower the salaries to get some sort of grouping, because then otherwise there's only like 4 golfers a week in 10,000 and higher. You know what I mean? So like the correlations wouldn't really, it's not going to tell you anything, but you could do that. You could go back and do exactly what I'm doing here and mess with it however you see fit. But so like an actionable thing to get to Jake's point is if you could probably build this out into something useful and, do a little more research and regressions and get it really dialed in. But if you're trying to stop that inner lineup correlation, there's a bunch of ways to do it, but this is another way to do it, is if you fade group 3. And then you're gonna dump out a whole bunch of lineups that other people are doing.
So almost kind of what you're saying is, if you were running sets of lineups, you would run a batch where you don't have group 3 in it, and you're still getting in the highest projected lineups just without that group 3, just to create a batch of differentiated lineups from what otherwise would maybe be a ton of group 3 lineups.
Yeah, you could run it a bunch of ways. So you can like get rid of 3, run 100. You could then add 3 back in, get rid of 1. That might be a little too, and maybe add a few of your favorites in 1. Right. And then run another 100. But you're definitely, and this is all within reason too. So like if it's giving you lineups that are 100 points off of your optimal, like that's too much. So, you'd have to play around with it. But this could be another tool in the shed besides all the stuff we've always talked about and everyone talks about, with ownership and making a bunch of lineups and picking some out from those lineups, etc. You could do this one more technique.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I definitely have had that where you're looking over your lineups and they all have the same kind of textures as far as where the different salaries are coming in. And it feels like you're not getting unique structure wise, even though your percentages might be. It's almost like like Jake is saying, there's the difference in being unique from the field, but there's also the difference in being unique within your own set of lineups. To make sure that you have a few different avenues of getting a top winning lineup.
Okay. What else did he say? I know unique streams. Yeah. Okay. I think that kind of gives you Gareth with another. I should call it Brick confuses the shit out of everyone corner.
I was going to say, even that question confused me. Fantasy Buzz Brian would love to get your take on The Godfather. Is that what I think people like this? Who's The Godfather?
He is a PGA professional DFS player, I guess.
Okay.
He's real good. He wins all the time. I don't know what else you want from me. I don't really study his lineups, but I'm sure they're really good.
Speak on him.
I can't speak.
Pedro asks, drop the fire plays, Big Bry. Don't worry, we are going to drop the fire plays in a little bit when we transition to talking about some of our exposures and building a Millie Maker lineup. But I think this is really interesting stuff. And was there anything else, Jake, that you would like him to follow up on?
And one last thing, just to Jake. So Jake's point was slightly different, I think. So Jake's point was more the correlation between your specific 150, or what I'm talking about is your specific 150 compared to the average 150 of people out there, and like another way to get contrarian but without losing any EV. So I think this would still do it though. This would be another way. So, use all your tools that you mentioned here, unique, randomness. And then you could also play around with groupings. So you can, there's a grouping function in pretty much all the optimizers now, but Fantasy Crunchers is the easiest. And you could set your groupings up here, like only one player from group 3, for example. I don't know how detailed the groups can go, but you could definitely throw groupings around this way, which I like way better than how I see most people do groupings in golf, where they like pick their 3 favorite golfers and then say they have to be in two of them have to be in every lineup or something like that. I'm not a fan of that, but.
And what the point too you were making is you can run these groupings, but you need to compare the raw projected points of these lineups versus the optimals or your other just regular base set of 150 lineups to make sure you're not giving up too much EV, because it goes back to that thing of, if you're just sacrificing a few projected points for this really unique construction, then, green light, go for it. But like you said, if you're giving up 30 to 40 projected points for a really unique construction, then that's going to be probably a losing strategy.
Yeah, 30 to 40, I don't know. I don't mind. The way I look at it, and this is just a heuristic, so you'd have to, if it's like more than a player, an average player, it's probably too much. So it depends on the sport. So like in golf, it depends on the week, but let's say an average player is like 60 points or something. Like if your lower lineup is like 90 points off, that's like a golfer and a half that you have to make up for. That's quite a bit. We are talking Millie Maker here, so anything goes really. Just ask RBX88. But but yeah, so like I kind of look at it that way. So each sport, if it's if it's an average score is 100 points or something, well, and you're 200 points off your optimal, well, that's 2 players you're making up for your contrariness.
Yeah, and I assume too, again, it's obvious that these kind of methods of getting hyper unique are to solo ship a very, very large field like the Millie Maker.
Yeah. And everything can be used in all the other lineups as well. It just depends, right? It depends on the sport and how many entries. Like if you're doing, a single entry with 50 people, and whose projections are you using? Are you making your own? If you're making your own, you're probably gonna be a little unique anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a ton more questions. These are all just kind of like guidelines and things to think about. And somebody could probably, because I've never actually done this, so I'm gonna think about it more. But sometimes people can take an idea and run with it even better than you can.
There you go, Jake. Head back into the lab, come back, show us your findings. That was a good question, though. We appreciate that prompt. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been Brick's House. Bow, 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 bow. All right. I can tell the people are getting antsy. They want the fire plays. Should we start talking a little bit about this slate and some of the exposures we've been getting in our first lineup runs?
Yes, sir. I got mine up.
So I sent Brian a DM earlier when I was working on my lineups, and I said, we're back, baby, because my initial runs, I was getting a ton of my guy Poulter and a ton of my guy Jim Furyk, which I've basically established part of my PGA brand is drafting these old guys. But Brian, it sounds like you were more on board than you've been in previous weeks with my geriatric fetish.
Yeah, they're based on the odds I'm looking at in their groups, in their grouping, they have pretty good odds this week. And so like I said I'm on board this week. I am with Furyk, but for some reason I'm not getting any Poulter in this first run. So I don't know. That seems wrong to me. How can that be?
Yeah, you need to fix your model. He is it brings me joy whenever I do this, because I go, he's my 4th highest owned golfer right now at 26%. I just cannot quit Ian Poulter.
Have you ever had less than 20% of him in your DFS lineups?
Yes, last week when he wasn't playing. That was it. Yeah, I actually initially was getting a ton of Jim Furyk too. I worked to get some more uniques. I had a little randomness in, and I got less of him because I had way too much Jim Furyk to make me comfortable. Right now, though, my top guy that I'm getting a lot of is Patrick Reed. I'm getting 29%. Where are you on Patrick Reed?
He's looking like a fade for me, so we're gonna be different
Really?
there. Yeah. So my fades. So I don't think there's gonna be much change at this point for me, but obviously there might be before I'm gonna do it after the show for official. But looks like my fades are gonna be, and it's kind of scary. Hovland, who's a stud, and he's coming off a pretty good week. Justin Rose, I'm not worried about him, so he'll probably win. Leishman, who's an RBX 88 favorite, so that's never good going against that heater. And this one I don't like, but this is what it's showing is Gary Woodland. And maybe my ownership projections are off too, so I need to dial those in because Woodland's looking pretty good in the books in like head-to-head matches and stuff.
Okay.
But those are the guys who I'm looking, and Joel Damon too.
Okay. So now, because I'm curious, because you have attacked not only me and my family, but also Patrick Reed. What ownership did you have him at?
14.
Okay. Yeah, that's about what I was saying.
Let me see if I'm. No, yeah, I'm not. I'm maybe about even with the market, all the providers out there.
Okay. Let's check in on what appears to be the guys that are going to be mega chalk. Listening to a few podcasts and seeing ownership percentage, it seems like Patrick Cantlay is the guy this week that everyone wants to jam in.
Yeah, I think I said this a couple weeks ago to you. Like Cantlay's DFS darling, probably one of the highest. Like he's always going to get a point or two, unless he his back starts flaring up again. He's always going to get a couple points more ownership, I think. And he is a stud, and I'm going to go under the field on him, but I don't think he's going to be as high owned as one of the providers out there says is RG says. I think they're a little high.
I like this new thing, Brian, where you say you don't want to talk out of school, but then you kind of politely talk out of school. It's good for your brand, I think.
Is that I take out of school as something I don't know anything about. Like I know what their ownership projection is.
Okay, you're right. You're right. It's more of it's a little bang bang, a little shots fired. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just slightly lower.
Just slightly. It looks like I have him at 8% now, not ownership projection, but in my exposure. So I'm not like last week on Bryson, I was just a full fade. I think I had him in like 2 of 150 lineups. So
me too, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was
his ownership came in low too, though. If I knew he was going to be 27% owned, I would have ended up having a decent amount of them. So 4 or 5 points of ownership in golf matters a lot because a lot of the projections, they are just a half a point within each other.
Yeah. Yep. It's easy for that to flip a switch here. Are there any other guys that are jumping out to you? I'm also getting a lot of my boy Jason Kokrak, who's been a bit of a hero of late. He was in RBX 88's Millie Maker winning lineup. Any love for Jason Kokrak?
Yeah, I'm going over the field on him. Who's your highest own?
It was Reed. Yeah,
it was Reed. Okay. What about Rahm or Justin Thomas?
So I have, let's see, Rahm, I have 20% exposure. Mm-hmm. Justin Thomas looks like I'm probably under, or even I have him at 12%. What do you have his ownership at?
Thomas, I have him at 18.
Okay. So I'm slightly under on him.
Yeah, I'm going to be over on him, and I think Rahm's going to be my guy this week.
Okay.
So Rahm, there's 2 odd sites I kind of focus in on, and one of them has him head-to-head beating Thomas, and the other one has Thomas head-to-head beating him. So I think they're probably about even in terms of fantasy point expectation, and I have him almost dead even, just slight difference.
Okay.
But I have Rom at 3 clicks less ownership at 15%.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I say a million times, if you have the same identical player and one of them's more owned, the less owned guy is a better play. And I think I'm going to roll with a whole bunch of Rom. And for Eli reasons, I think I'm going to get close to the field on your boy Brooks. But let me see if I have any Chase Koepka in here.
Oh, there we go. Now we're
seriously
talking.
Doubt it, but should we put Chase Koepka in our Millie Maker?
Wow.
I have 0% Chase Koepka.
What is his salary? I guess I can.
It's gotta be 6,000. He's like the lowest.
Let's see here. There they are, the two brothers, 10-4 and 6K. How many points do you have Chase Koepka projected for?
Let me look. Where are we? Chase. I have him projected for 34.5 points.
Okay. Yeah, probably not going to show up in too many of your lineups at that.
No, he's down there. Way down there.
Okay. Let's build a lineup. Before we do, we have on YouTube, we have 31 people watching now. We have 12 likes. It's been a while since we've had a net like goal. I think I want to make this an aggressive goal, but that's because there's going to be an aggressive prize. So if we can get, Brian raises his eyebrows. If we can get to 30, Brian is going to. Now, if we can get to 30 net likes, I will raffle off. No, not raffle off. I will give up 10% of my Millie Maker equity on this lineup. Wow. To anyone in the chat. That's if we get to
valued at a 10-cent expectation, folks. That's quite a bit.
Hey, no, it's valued at $100,000.
Wow.
Okay?
That's like you're almost guaranteed to make it million.
That's the thing. So there you go. Wow, look at it. Just all of these opportunists just smashing the like button. Do
they get a piece of your Tournament of Champions entry as well, or is that just all Peter?
So this is how it works. We win. You and me go to the Tournament of Champions together, but our plus 30 is the Lolz community. So they get to live vicariously through us. We will shoot a vlog at the Tournament of Champions day by day, feeding the Lolz fans content. That's our promise to you.
Okay. Perfect.
I kind of feel like, remember in school or something when you'd have these random like fundraiser goals or whatever and be like, we get a pizza party if we do this. I'd be like, if we hit 30 likes, Lolz gets a pizza party. Okay.
That's a flashback.
I am going to give you the honors to start this off. You said Rom's your guy. Is that the direction you want to go, or
jinx it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be jinxing the Millie lineup or jinxing all my lineups.
Yeah, Brian uses this as kind of like a voodoo doll lineup to boost his own things. He gets out all of the jinxes in here because that's clearly what's happened.
Yeah. Who are you liking?
Well,
so do you like Patrick Reed? Do you want to jinx your lineups?
Oh man, look at how we set this up. We go, we don't want to jinx our own lineups, but the equity that we just gave away to the Lolz listener, we're willing to take them down with us.
All I have to do is click a button. So
you know what? I'll just stay on brand. I'll do Poulter.
Okay.
I'll do Poulter. That's my guy.
All right. And we didn't decide. Are we staying under any?
You're right. So I was looking at optimals. It seems like the average ownership was just under around 70% combined ownership.
I saw the highest for me was 78%.
Yeah.
So under
50? Let's do it. Let's stay under 50. We're trying to get unique. And I will say the one thing about hand building in this way is we probably do, circling back to your groups and correlations, we do probably get some very interesting group correlations this way.
Did you check and see if we were duped last week?
I didn't. Did you?
No, I didn't look. I can't imagine that was a pretty.
Yeah, if you're duping our lineup, I mean, you're sick, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
You're
why
sick.
would you bother? Okay, so what was Poulter's salary?
Poulter's salary is $7,500.
Okay, so he's right in that group 3. So he's gonna be have more correlation with the top guys than the other groups. Let's see here.
While you're looking,
how about this?
Okay.
How about Joaquin Neiman?
Okay.
Just throw a little ride that after my brilliant bet against RBX 88. Just keep riding him.
I want to out him again. Has he settled up with you?
He did. Yeah, he did.
There you go. You heard it here first. RVX 88, a man of his word, settles his bets. I like it. Eamon, we'll do it.
Right.
I'm just checking in on the chat because I missed a few here. We are no longer Brooks fans. It's Chase season. He has a 10-point higher fantasy points per game than his brother, and it's 4,400 cheaper. Seems like an obvious choice. Wow, Eli has really pivoted on his Koepka love. Warren P wants a piece of our Millie Maker win. Patrick Reed books. And I checked on Labs, and you guys were not duped, but Brian did have a lineup of his own entered that was only off on 2 guys. Brian, did you collude with yourself?
I might have.
You guys heard it. You guys heard it here first. Also, I'm not going to post the DM, but I got a DM of someone talking about collusion at another tout site that I don't want to, speak out of school about, but continue to send me those DMs. I enjoy getting those. If you guys dig up any conspiracies in the DFS space, Lolz will be the one to expose them if we deem them as having some legs. Okay, so you did Neiman. It's back to me. Here's the thing. So Osimo always seems to project Jason Day higher than anyone else, the market. He's always ahead of him. I have 25% Jason Day right now. He's another $7,500 guy, I believe. Is that right? 7,700.
Yeah.
Can you get behind Jason Day?
So I forgot to mention that I have a decent amount of Day this week.
Let's make it happen.
Okay. So this is going to be, hopefully it's a reverse jinx. Hopefully this is a reverse jinx.
Right. We can't just make a lineup that is all guys that you don't like, okay? That aren't already going to be in your lineups. This has to be a window into the mind of Brick and the lineups he's going to make. We need to give the people the true goods.
I think our average placement so far has been like 127,000 or something.
Yeah. If someone wants to, because I haven't been playing the Millie Maker other than this lineup, so you could pretty easily go look at my lineups and lineup HQ or Labs or whatever, and you can someone poll and tell me how Revert Z Top's PGA Millie Maker lineups have been doing. I don't think it's going to be too good.
Okay, so we have 25% ownership so far. And how much salary do we got left here? 8,800. So this happens to us every week. We eventually have to take a stud, unless we want to be like 2,000 or 1,000 under a salary cap, which I'm not opposed to. We could try that.
I'm crazy, dude. I'm loco.
You are fucking crazy. What should we pull the trigger on Koepka?
Let's do it. But which one?
We can't do Chase at this point. Now we're going to be like 4,000 under the salary cap.
Okay. All right. Gareth in the chat is making a case for Woodland, who you did mention as liking him.
I like him in like the odds look good, but when I run my model, he's a fade because of his ownership. So I do like him now.
I like Koepka though. I have 25% of him right now, and I think it fits the build.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. If we throw him in there, we're at we got a message from Osmo Slack too. Guys, well, you can just go into YouTube. we're at 41%, so we only got 9% left.
Uh-oh. Okay. What's my guy Kokrak? What do you have him projected at for ownership?
I think I had 4%.
Okay.
Here's
That
that
might be
comment, Peter, if you wanted to put it.
Where did you? Oh, I see it. Gotcha.
Oh God, it was a League of Legends question.
Oh my God. I'm not putting, I'll put the League of Legends question up here just because, here you go. We're building a PGA lineup. Do you typically set any rules for the team position when country? Also, is random is good in it didn't all paste over.
Doing a show, dude. Yes, I do. I don't allow them in captain.
Gareth did Wolf do well last week? He's saying last week he cried for Wolf.
I know, that's my buddy. He's talking shit to me because he had 80% Wolf last week.
There you go.
And he ended up not winning, but I mean you needed him to win of any DFS tournaments.
Yeah.
I love Wolf. All these young guys are so good in golf right now. Morikawa, Neiman, Hovland, Wolf, and even these other guys are not even that old. Sung JM, he could go off.
Yeah,
there's ton. I'm forgetting probably 4 or 5 other ones too.
Okay, so we got. Let's look at some options down here. I mean, 2 guys that I like that are under 5% ownership that I'm seeing would be Kokrak and my guy Furyk. But I don't know if you got other suggestions here to keep us under 5, or what do we need to stay under 10% combined ownership over these last 2?
Yeah. So we could just do a 1%er, and then that could solve it. Well, you know what? Since they get 10% equity, someone in chat should probably pick one of the players.
Oh, I like that. All right, chat. I need you guys all to huddle right now. We are at 20 combined likes. Your chances of getting this equity are not looking good. Just being honest right now at this rate. You need 10 more. That said, we want this to be a collaborative process. I need the chat to huddle. You need to think about the constraints we're working underneath right now, which is we need 10% combined ownership over these next 2 players. So as Brian hinted at, it's either going to have to be another good stud that's at like 8 or 9%, and then a total punt 1% owned guy, or we go my route, the Kokrak Furyk route, and leave a lot of salary on the board. So those are our options. Brian, if
and it's good we already took Koepka because Eli can't vote for Koepka now. So
well, he already told us he's a Chase Koepka tout now, so we got to be careful with him.
I mean, Chase could be our 0% owned.
Hey God, I kind of love this. We got Eli making the play for it. He fits what we need to do. We have the classic brothers correlation that we already established early on the show. I mean, should we roll out the Koepka brothers?
Throw them in there right now. Let's see how much salary we're going to have left. Like we're going to have like 10K left or something.
10K. Oh man, it would be so nice if we were able to get Rom in there too.
We could get Hideki. So that would be over our barrier, but not by much. Let's see. So who do we got in there? I mean, Chase is going to be 0% owned. Maybe 1. Maybe 1.
I would say this show is going to push the ownership up a little, the Lolz bump.
By 1 lineup, us. If I add Hideki, and we don't have to take Hideki, I just want to run the numbers really quick. Yeah. So I do have Chase at 1 somehow. Okay. Yeah. Hideki's too high. We'd be at 62% owned. So
Fantasy Sharpie says, don't you think that using max total ownership ignores lineups that are still contrarian because they have like 2 1% guys and 4 15 to 20% guys?
Yeah, we talked about that. What, like 2 weeks ago? I did. Didn't I do? Or maybe that? No, might have been 3 weeks ago. We didn't cut that piece out and make it a solo tutorial or whatever. But okay, so it wasn't last one. It was like 3 ago. I don't know. You have to go look at it. But we did one of those little in a brick house, and I talked about how that does actually matter. Yeah, so it does matter, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ways you could get contrarian too, and you could do it with salary. but it's not as fun a show to do it the way you're suggesting.
Right. Yeah. Just to piggyback on Brian's point for Fantasy Sharpie, this isn't saying a rule that you would build all of your lineups with. I think we both are in agreement there's ways to get unique in different ways. This is just us trying to force us into a unique lineup with a very clear threshold that is entirely arbitrary.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not really arbitrary, but
true.
That's not that important, but we would be 12% over with Hideki, and although we do give ourselves a little leeway most of the time, I think that's too much. So
yeah, okay. So which of these guys then? At this point, we're ignoring salary, basically. Or sorry, not ignoring salary, but yeah, no, I think we do ignore salary and we just put in a guy. The best player under 9% ownership is what we're looking for right now.
Okay. So let's take a gander. And they have to be under Hideki. So the next guy on my list is Sungjae Im is close. Jordan Spieth. Matthew Wolf, Bubba Watson, Louis Oosthuizen, but I hate him.
I have a lot of Eam this week. Can we fudge it for him?
Phil Mickelson and Scotty Scheffler. Those are, and it goes on. Jason Kokrak.
Yeah.
Everyone underneath there is pretty much under 10%. So you like Sungjae Im, huh?
I have a little M. Yeah.
I'm going to be with the field. I mean, he is a stud.
He's been real solid.
Yeah, if we pop him in there, how much under the salary cap will it be?
1,100.
Okay, wow, that's really under. So we'd have 52% salary. I'm sorry, 52% total ownership and 1,100 salary. So no one's going to do this line.
Unless one of these sickos in the chat. I mean, Eli said, I'm not going to lie. If you take Decky, you'll be 4 of 6 of my single bullet in the millie, which leads me to believe he does have both Koepka brothers.
That's what I'm saying. We know 2 of them.
Yeah.
Look at Koepka averages more fantasy points per game than Brooks. Look at that.
Wow. I mean, that's all. I mean, Eli says that if you take someone like Eam, you're better bumping Chase into an actual golfer. I mean, of course we are. There's lots of things that if that's not the spirit of this lineup.
Yeah, we're not trying to make the best lineup ever.
The goal, let's just recap what the goal of this lineup is. It's to win you, the viewers, a combined $100,000 when it wins, while reverse jinxing Brian's lineups so he wins $1 million himself.
Right.
And I know not both of us can do that, but that's the logic and thesis behind this lineup.
That guarantees one of us will win $1 million this week, basically.
Yeah. Am I entering this lineup, Brian? Are we doing this? or are we upgrading Chase, or do you want to go something's got to give?
I don't know. I like the Chase, the Koepka brothers.
I really like it
as a bit.
Dude, it would not be the first and it won't be the last that I submit a Millie Maker lineup as a bit. I promise you that.
I mean, do we want to get rid of Day or Neiman? I know you don't want to get rid of Poulter.
Who's another golfer that you really, I mean, should we try to get Rahm in here with the Koepka bros?
We could.
So let's just say we get rid of Eam and we go in Rahm and we need to find $900 somewhere.
You really want to jinx my lineups, don't you?
Get out of here.
All right. Then we have to do Day or Neiman, obviously, right?
Yeah.
We gotta leave Poulter and we gotta leave Koepka, the Koepka brothers.
I'll sacrifice Day, unless you want to sacrifice Neiman to protect your lineups. I don't know what kind of voodoo bullshit you got going on over there.
I mean, I don't really care about any of them, but let's do. Let me pop him in really quick. So we're at 57% with this lineup. that we can't obviously need to go under the cap on.
So here's the 6,800 golfers. Names I recognize. I think I had some Fratelli last week. Matthew Neesmith.
They'll all be. I like Sebastian Munoz a little bit, but let me look, Ben. Look, what's the name of the highest owned 6,400?
Oh, the highest owned?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Like who's on the top of the list at 6,400?
Oh, sorry. James Hahn, Bird, McCumber, Ortiz, Davis, Schwartzel, Spawn, Gooch, Strickler, Lovemark. You want to go back to the Gooch well?
How much is Furyk? Is he's over 64? Is he like 65? 69?
Should we get Furyk in and go off of Neiman?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Now we're starting to cook. Ooh, Woodland fits.
That Woodland could be that's Gareth's pick.
This is a much better lineup.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me, because he's got a lot of ownership with him. So let's add all this up first before everyone gets excited, which I know everyone is. Okay, so no more Neiman, and then who do we put in for day?
Rom and Furyk are in.
Furyk.
And Neiman and Day are out.
Okay. We have 58%. Little high. What do you think? Should we just say screw it? And we're at salary max.
I think here's my thing. The chat can disagree, Brian. You can disagree. I think when we went with the Koepka Bros correlation, I think we bought ourselves an extra few percentage points of ownership.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah, who mentioned that Fantasy Sharpie?
Yeah.
There you go, Fantasy Sharpie. Now we're taking your advice.
We came around.
We'll break our rules a little bit.
So we do have Tyler in the chat is making a push for Hadwin at 8,200.
Let's check his ownership. I mean, he had a stud week last week. 12% ownership. So it would bring ownership down four clicks. I don't know.
We did, I guess, what let's give the chat too. We gave him Chase Koepka and we give him Adam Hadwin.
They also wanted Woodland too, though. So
they did. But sometimes mom and dad know what's best.
You like Hadwin, huh?
I have no.
How much Hadwin do you have?
I just want to appease the people, and I want to be done making this goddamn lineup. No, right. This is it, folks. This is the winner. Take a look. We got Poulter and Furyk, my guys. We got the Koepka brothers for Eli. We got Hadwin for Tyler, and we have John Rahm for Brian. We did it. We accomplished all our goals. Hitting the submit button. It is done. It is done. And speaking of it is done, this has been Lolz, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As usual, make sure to subscribe to Brian's YouTube channel. We also have the iTunes and podcast version of this show if you prefer, for whatever reason, to listen in that way. Brian, do you have any final words?
No, live show Saturday, 9 Eastern, 8 Central?
Yep, we'll do 9 Eastern. Going to have a fun crew rolling through, so you can grab some drinks, set your MMA lineups, and hopefully one of us from Lolz will win $1 million. So yeah, guys, we will see you on Saturday night. For Brian Hooper, for the Koepka brothers, thanks to the chat for coming out tonight. I'm Peter Overzet, and this has been Lolz.